This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome in, folks, to another edition of Open Mic Night. I'm your host, Noah Tluki, and on today's episode, Lions losing 47-7, a very, very deflating loss. We're going to break that down for you. Also, as the draft picture comes more into picture, I want to talk about maybe who the Lions should be targeting in the NFL draft come April. Also, Michigan State losing big in their first 3 Big Ten games. I'll tell you why we shouldn't hit the panic button yet on this Spartan basketball team. Also joining us later is a special guest, Jeremiah Riordan, one of my former teammates and classmates at the University of Detroit Jesuit. He is the starting long snapper at the University of Buffalo. We're going to talk to him fresh off of winning the Camellia Bowl down in Montgomery, Alabama against Marshall. We're going to hear from him about his bowl experiences and about his career. Wanted to end 2020 on a high note because the team that I'm just about to talk about, the Lions, not ending the year on a high note at all, and 47-7 loss against the Bucs. Now, at the time of taping last week, I had no idea. None of us had any idea that Darrell Bevell, Corey Unlin, and a bunch of other assistant coaches were going to have to miss the game because of the protocols and all that's in place. So by the time the game rolled around, they're trotting out Robert Prince, the receivers coach, as the head coach. And then they had Evan Rothstein, who's like the football research guy with the Lions. He was the defensive coordinator. And then on the offensive coordinator, there was Sean Ryan, the quarterback's coach. And then there was a bunch of coaching interns and low-level assistants that were coaching the positional players. I mean, this was just such a ragtag group of coaches out there. It was, I don't know, I'm going to be honest, I was laughing a little bit before the game. I just could not believe that this stuff was happening. I mean, I'm still laughing about it now. And, you know, obviously, I had a feeling that the Bucs were going to ring a lot on the Lions just because given the circumstances and the defensive players that were out for the Lions. But I thought the Lions would score a little bit more points than 7. And they scored not on offense. That 7 points was on the kick return or the punt return from Jamal Agnew. But I didn't expect Stafford to roll his ankle in the first quarter. Because before that, I thought, you know what, we might actually ring up a couple points on Tampa. Just because Stafford and you know, Sean Ryan knows him well, and I thought they might. Tampa's defense isn't necessarily like the greatest, so I thought maybe, you know, it might be a little bit of a high scoring game for both teams. But I kind of had a feeling Tampa would win anyways, obviously. But as soon as Stafford rolled his ankle, I thought to myself, oh no, he's done. And as much as he wants to go out there and play and compete and all that, I saw him hobble into the locker room, and I said his day is over. And as soon as they put Chase Daniel in, I had no hope at all. I mean, it was very, very obvious that Chase Daniel cannot throw the ball downfield. And, I mean, he just does not have an arm anymore. And, I mean, it was just blowout city from there. Defense didn't step up, wide open passes. They put Blaine Gabbert in, Tampa did, at the start of the second half, and he throws a wide open touchdown pass to Rob Gronkowski. And I just remember thinking, oh my, that right there is just crazy. I had nothing else to say. I mean, I could not believe it. Getting embarrassed yet again on national television. The Lions looking to maybe get a season-ending win against the Vikings on Sunday to wrap up the season. I mean, if they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm not one of those guys that is like, you know, lose for the draft picks. Like, I mean, I want them to win, but am I going to be upset if they lose? Not necessarily. This is just a meaningless game anyways. But, you know, it's nice to see the guys go out there and finish strong, I guess. One more win for their favorite interim coach, Darrell Bevell. They're going to be back this week, so no more interns basically coaching this roster up. But now all the focus will shift over to the offseason now. I mean, the season's basically over, and the new general manager should be announced in the next couple weeks because Bob Quinn was announced, I believe, January 8th of 2016. So I'm assuming, early January is when we're going to find out for the general manager. So stay tuned to Open Mic Night Podcast. We'll break down whenever the GM search is complete. So cruising around on social media over the holidays, and hopefully, by the way, everybody had a very Merry Christmas. So I was cruising around, and this is about the time of the year where a lot of mock drafts are starting to pop up. Because the draft order is starting to get more clear and clear because, more teams are losing, more teams are winning, whatever. So, it gets clear like it was for the number 1 overall pick. Now the Jaguars have it, and instead of the Jets. And the Jaguars are, supposed to take Trevor Lawrence as the number 1 overall pick, the quarterback from Clemson. And he's great. And I think Trevor Lawrence will make a great pro. However, I have a message to Lions fans, and this pertains to who we're going to draft outside of Trevor Lawrence. I'm not really interested in any of these quarterbacks. Okay? I'm not interested in Justin Fields. I'm not interested in Trey Lance, the quarterback from North Dakota State. I'm not interested in Zach Wilson from BYU. Oh, no. And I'm not really interested in Mac Jones. The other guy that I would think maybe, I'm not 100% set on him like I am with Trevor Lawrence, but maybe Kyle Trask from Florida. He's been having like a Joe Burrow kind of season, kind of one of those guys that sort of came out of nowhere and then all of a sudden is lighting it up. Trask, he didn't even start in high school. He was the backup behind De'Ara King, who is the starting quarterback for the University of Miami. But he was discovered at a camp in Florida, and he's been great ever since for Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators. I mean, in my opinion, he's going to be my Heisman candidate. I think he's a better quarterback than Mac Jones, and he's played in more games this season than Trevor Lawrence. So I would vote Kyle Trask of the 4 finalists to be my Heisman. And I think Kyle Trask may have a chance at being a good pro, and he would be the second guy I would want the Lions to take. Obviously I would want the Lions to take Trevor Lawrence if they were in the market for a quarterback. Obviously I'm not sure about that yet because we don't know the future of Matthew Stafford. But Trask is a guy maybe to keep an eye on if they're in the market for a quarterback. However, I do not think that the Lions are going to draft a quarterback this year. There are a lot more pressing needs on this team than a quarterback right now because Stafford is on the team. If Stafford is off the team, if he goes somewhere else, that's a whole other story. But for right now, I think their number 1 need is a pass rusher. Defensive lineman, a pass rusher, a guy like Aaron Donald or somebody in the inside or somebody on the outside that can really, really rush and get after the quarterback, because this is a problem that has been happening for years with the Lions. They have not been able to pressure the quarterback. And I just want somebody like that. And they had that with Ndamukong Suh in the early part of the decade. One of those players that is sort of a once-in-a-generational player that can really, really get after the quarterback. I think that should be the Lions' number 1 priority. Also, some other priorities, they're going to have a linebacker. The linebackers on this team are not very good. And I know, they drafted Jared Davis and they drafted Jelani Tavai way too high. I mean, the second round. And out of Hawaii a couple years ago, and he was supposed to go in like the 4th or 5th round. But one of those solid linebackers, solid middle linebackers that can really play in the Lions system, whatever the system may be with the new head coach. Also, another position of note, and I'm going to say this, and I don't want people to criticize because this has happened in the past with the Lions. But I think if Kenny Golladay is gone, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, some of those guys are gone after this season, I think they need to take a wide receiver in this draft. Like, they need one of those guys that is going to be that X factor, that guy that they can really rely on. And there's a couple of receivers in this draft that are very, very good. So I don't want people criticizing me about the wide receiver pick, because, and especially if Kenny Golladay leaves. If Kenny Golladay stays and Marvin Jones stays and a couple of those other guys, I don't think they should, at least in the first round. But if they leave, the Lions need a guy. And I think pass rusher, linebacker, or wide receiver. I think those are the 3 main positions that the Lions should focus on. Obviously, we're not at April yet. Things could change, free agency and all that. They could address some needs. But right now, as we stand, just before Week 17 against Minnesota, those are the three positions that I think the Lions should eye. All right, so I want to switch over to hoops really fast before we get Jeremiah Riordan, the long snapper from Buffalo, on the podcast. But Michigan State losing 3 straight in basketball. I did not see this coming. Especially, and I had talked about it before, I think Michigan State could be a very special basketball team. They beat Duke 75-69 earlier in the year, and they beat Notre Dame, and I know Notre Dame isn't great, but I'd say that's a decent win. But then they lost 79-65 to Northwestern. They play number 9 Wisconsin on Christmas Day, and they lose 85-76. And then against Minnesota on Monday, lose 81-56. Michigan State could not shoot the basketball. 18 of 70 from the field, 25%. They only shot 24% from 3. Only allowed 47% from Minnesota. So I think the defensive effort was there. At least it seemed seemingly from the box score. But it just the offense just could not get going, and they were just missing shots. I mean, Joey Hauser, the leading scorer for Michigan State, 1 of 8 from the field. I mean, Rocket Watts, he's had his shooting struggles this season, 1 for 9. Izzo kind of switched up the starting lineup a little bit against Minnesota. He benched Aaron Henry, who actually gave the Spartans in 11 points, led the team off the bench. But he actually started Foster Loyer and Rocket together because after the game he was talking about Rocket, how he is not really comfortable with the 1 as much as Foster is. So Rocket was playing more of the shooting guard, the 2, and Foster was playing that point. And then Langford, Kithier, and Hauser still starting for Michigan State. But Tom Izzo working the freshmen in a little bit. We saw Matty Sissoko. He got 12 minutes of action. A.J. Hoggard getting 15 minutes of action. So they're trying to work their guys in. And I think right now, nobody should be panicking. I know this is an 0-3 start. This is tough. I mean, Michigan State hasn't started this bad in Big Ten play, I think in like 23, 24 years, something like that I saw. But, Izzo talked about it in his press conference. I watched his press conference, and he talked about there not being an alpha dog. And he's had those alpha dogs in his career. He said about 4 or 5 of them. Right now, they just don't have that strong leader. He said he's had plenty of teams before where they've never had that, but it just may take a little more digging throughout the season, digging a little deeper, and then once they hit rock bottom, maybe that leader emerges. I know you talked about that in the press conference. Personally, I do think this is the problem for Michigan State. I believe what Izzo says. I've always had a lot of respect for him over the years. He's always been my favorite coach, but I do believe him. When it comes to this, I think it may take a little more time. And, there's only one senior on the roster, and it's Josh Langford, and he hasn't played in 2 years, and he's technically a redshirt, so there's no true seniors below him because, Josh Langford, Xavier Tillman and all those guys from that class, they all left for the NBA. So then below that, you have the juniors, Aaron Henry and Gabe Brown, a couple other guys, Marcus Bingham. So if those leaders step up, and they start making some of those shots, Michigan State could be a very, very good team moving forward. And I'm not worried. Izzo was just tinkering with a little things in the lineup right now and just trying to get a spark from all angles, I guess. And you got to remember, the Big Ten is very, very good this year. I mean, I think there were 9 ranked teams at one point this season. Very, very impressive. Big Ten, the best basketball conference in the country this season. Michigan State will head to Nebraska on Saturday and take on the Cornhuskers, 8 p.m. start on Big Ten Network on the 2nd. And then they'll have Rutgers, number 14, next Tuesday. So it can be a nice couple games there for Michigan State. Hopefully they get back on the winning track because, as I've mentioned before, Michigan State, kind of the only 2 teams right now that are really giving Detroit sports fans some hope. For anything. Michigan 7-0, undefeated. They have not played any ranked teams yet this season. They play Maryland on Thursday, and then Northwestern Minnesota on Sunday and next Wednesday. So a couple of big tests there for the Wolverines, but don't worry about Michigan State, folks. I think they're going to be okay.
Joining us now here on Open Mic Night is Jeremiah Riordan, one of my former classmates, teammates at the University of Detroit Jesuit High School, a 4-year starting long snapper at the University of Buffalo, fresh off of their 17-10 victory in the Camellia Bowl over the Marshall Thundering Herd. Jeremiah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Noah.
So first, before I start with the questions, I want to ask you, have you ever seen that movie We Are Marshall?
So I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I haven't watched the full thing. Not going to lie.
Yeah, no, because I know that this year Marshall was celebrating the 50th anniversary of that plane wreck that basically devastated their whole team. So that's what that movie's about, and you playing that team in the bowl was awesome to see. But so first of all, how did you get into long snapping? There's a lot of guys they like they'll play the quarterback position or running back and all the line, but you got into snapping.
So going back to my middle school football days when, we had to start kicking field goals, my dad used to long snap with one hand, and he was like, you could go to college for doing this. And I didn't believe him going up to 8th grade, and then just going to my first long snapping camp. 8th grade, it was in Chicago, and I met the snapper from Michigan, or who was going to Michigan, Scott Spanuski. And I built a good relationship with him, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, I could actually go somewhere with this. Going to my freshman year at U of D, and I just really I was like, I'm going to do this. I want to play college football. It's hard, to go at a skill position or even be an lineman and stuff. I'm not big enough to be an lineman or not fast enough to be a skill position, but I found my trait, worked really hard at it, and I still do.
So growing up, did you have a long snapping, like a role model or a guy you really looked up to, at the college or the professional level?
I mean, I've always known about Don Molbeck. I used to go to training camps with my dad. Used to talk to him all the time. I got his number, so we text once in a while. When I got to UB or Buffalo, our team chaplain, Cal Kern, his son's the Tennessee Titans starting punter, Brett Kern. So I built a relationship with Brett and their old snapper, Bo. So I haven't really had a role model. It's just more of people helping me along the way where I could send them film and they could critique me on something.
What was your recruiting process like? Because, obviously Division I, going to the MAC, were there other schools looking at you, or what made you fall in love with the University of Buffalo?
Scholarship offer. I was one of 6 kids in my class to get a scholarship offer for long snapping.
Wow, really?
It's very hard to get a scholarship offer for long snapping.
Right. Because you were actually a 5-star long snapper in high school. You're the number 8 long snapper in the country, number 1 in the state of Michigan. How do they do these ranking systems? Because I feel like it's a little different than maybe the skill position players, how they rank them.
Oh, definitely. When you go to camps, they do charting and timing. It's all about charting and timing. So there's guys who can have perfect charting, but their times could be really slow. So it's all you have to have a little bit of both type deal. And I just went to a lot of camps. My parents and my sister sacrificed a lot for me to go. We used to do family road trips to all these camps. So it was fun. Do I miss it going to all the camps? No, because that was a lot of traveling. But it was cool to see different spots in the country. And, I mean, for the rankings too, it just depends of who you go to. So I went to Coles a lot, and Coles is one of the best known kicking coaches in the world and snapping coaches. So that helped me too, where I was telling them, hey, I played basketball when I was playing basketball at U of D. I can't make it. And they wouldn't drop my rankings. Some other places may drop your rankings due to the fact that it's just a money grab. But Coles is the best place to go, and I'm forever grateful for Casey Casper because he played under Coach Ipoh at Whitewater.
Wow, yeah. No, actually, that was going to be my next question about Lance Leipold. He was a 6-time Division III national champion at Wisconsin Whitewater. And, myself, I go to a Division III school. I know of Whitewater very well and how successful he built that program up. But then he goes over to the University of Buffalo in 2016 and has really, really turned that program around. So, what makes him such a great coach? And, what have you learned from him personally?
Ooh. I was actually just talking about this with some teammates. So what makes him such a great coach is the relationship he has with us. He's more of like a CEO, if that makes sense. He'll critique you and stuff on the field, but all his position coaches like really teach you everything, and then he'll ask you how you're doing. He'll come in, he'll text you. It's just like to see him, what he's done for this program. I'll be forever grateful. I've been part of the first 2 bowl wins in school history, won the 2 MAC championships, and it's just, it's wild to think coming to Buffalo. I was talking to Evan Finnegan,
yes,
Mr. Foley. We were talking about this. It's kind of crazy. Coming to Buffalo, you just wanted to go to 1 bowl game, let alone to go to 2 MAC championships and 3 bowl games. It's just been a crazy ride, and I'm forever grateful for Coach Heupel to give me a chance to play at UB.
So, yeah, as you mentioned, 3 bowl games. So 2018, you guys went to the Dollar General Bowl, lost to Troy, but that was at Lad Pebbles Stadium, a very legendary stadium in the South, especially in Alabama. Then the Bahamas Bowl, playing over there, beating Charlotte last year, and then this season beating Marshall 17-10 in Montgomery at the Camellia Bowl. What has been your favorite bowl experience? And I know a lot of people out there, they don't focus as much on the smaller bowls, but for you guys, it's a great experience.
So I would say the greatest experience would be the Bahamas Bowl because we won our first bowl game there. So being part of history was awesome. But just the whole trip, like going to Atlantis for like 5 days, that was probably the coolest part. Experience-wise, I would say like altogether learning about history, Montgomery, because I learned about where Martin Luther King pastored at and stayed at, and learned about all that rich history they have down there, which was unbelievable.
So how long do you guys, stay down there? Is it like a whole week, or is it just, a couple of days before, because it seems like it's just a whole experience. You're not just only there just for the game. It's for a lot of other things too. Oh,
exactly. It's for like fan festivities, so parents could come, you hang out with the community. It's a little relaxing time too because you work so hard during the season. You want to go to one of the bowl games. So the first 2 years we stayed there for 5 days, and then a week ago we only went down 2 days before due to the fact of COVID. It kind of sucks, but we had to see like Selma Bridge where Martin Luther King started his walk to the Capitol, and like did a bunch of tours like that. So that was cool, and like the day and a half we were there before the game.
So you mentioned before you playing at Ford Field twice for the MAC championship this season, and then back in 2018. You being from Detroit, you attending Lions games and going to training camps before. Like how surreal is that experience to be playing on that field?
Oh, it's awesome. You just think about we had the home locker room, and my buddy Cole, who's from Canada, we're walking in. He goes, dude, we're walking into the same locker room Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Megatron used to walk into. Like, it's sick. I was like, yeah, it's unreal. It's just, I don't know. It kind of sucks that none of my family could come to the game this past year, but my first year playing there, it was awesome seeing family and friends there and seeing them being so proud of me playing in a great place like Ford Field.
I want to ask you about a player in particular on the team, Jarrett Patterson. He's just an incredible running back. 8 rushing touchdowns in one game against Kent State, one of the best teams in the MAC as well. Just he's junior. How special is he? And especially, could he make it at the next level?
Oh, he could definitely make it at the next level with his hard work ethic. But yeah, he's really good on the field, but he's a better teammate in person. Like, he's not the type of guy to, like, think he's all that. Like, we'll hang out with him. The specials hang out with him. We make jokes. He's just a great guy all around, and he really has it to make it to the next level. But hopefully he'll come back, but he'll make the right choice for him. And, we all support him, whatever he decides to do.
Speaking of those specialists, I see you on social media. You're close with the kickers and the punters and all that. A couple weeks ago, we had Jim Arnold, the former Lions punter from about 30 years ago, and he talked about how special that bond is with the specialists, and kind of like the specialists are people too kind of thing. So talk about how close you guys are, and how that's a very unique and special thing with you guys.
Oh yeah, it's very special. We do everything together. We lift, we eat breakfast, we stand on the sideline during practice, watching practice together, just make jokes. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, we're kind of like the jokesters of the team. we'll like for people who are injured, we'll like golf clap for them when they run by and stuff. So we make practice more fun and enjoyable for people. And it's cool to become a specialist because you know other specialists throughout the country. I know Sean Mills, the University of Toledo's starting snapper, Thomas Fletcher from Alabama. You know, a bunch of different kickers and punters. So it's an awesome, awesome thing. It's like a little fraternity.
Now, did you just meet a lot of these guys at the camps, from high school? Is that how you met them? Okay.
Exactly.
So final question for you, Jeremiah, any future plans for you? Are you going to try to make it to the next level, long snapping? I know you're going to stay another year, especially with gaining an extra year of eligibility with all the COVID restrictions and everything as well.
Yeah, I'm going to stay an extra year just due to the fact that college football is once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't want to have any regrets, but I'm going to try for the next level. If it doesn't work out, either CFL, NFL, I want to go to the southern border and work Border Patrol.
So that's a great opportunity there for Jeremiah, 4-year starting long snapper at the University of Buffalo. He'll be back next season. Maybe we'll see another MAC championship and another bowl win for you guys as well.
Hopefully. Thank you for having me, Noah.
I want to thank Jeremiah Riordan for coming on. Always good to talk with him and getting to know about his bowl experiences. There's a lot of folks out there that maybe complain about some of the smaller bowls, but for these schools and for the players and coaches and the staff, it's a lot of fun. Especially like the Bahamas Bowl and some of those places. It's great. And they're fun to watch, at least for me. So it was good to hear from him, and it was really, really nice to get his perspective on those things. And also being a long snapper. We don't hear from too many long snappers here on Open Mic Night and around the media. So it was nice to hear that as well. Be sure to check out the other content on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We got the wrestling podcast, comes out every Friday. Doc and Jock every Thursday. Fan Report Mondays. They have a fantasy podcast as well. So definitely it's awesome. And, as we close 2020, I want to thank the Detroit Sports Podcast Network again for airing this Open Mic Night. And I've been very fortunate and blessed to have this opportunity to do this every week since about June, July, somewhere in there. And I've been very, very happy that I was able to do that. And I'm still editing a lot of the podcasts that you're listening to on here, and it's good. I want to thank John Macroom, Adam Strozinski, all those guys over there for giving me this opportunity. I really hope to continue it in 2021. Keep getting you guys some good guests to listen to as well, and it should be a great, great year. Want to wish everybody a very, very safe and happy New Year. And thank you again, folks, for tuning in one last time in 2020, only on Open Mic Night.